we're gonna need a bigger truck. You know, I was hoping in the real movie they'd actually get rid of that line, but they didn't. Man, I hate that line. So The Fate of the Furious was directed by F. Gary Gray. This damn chair. The Fate of the Furious was directed by F. Gary Gray, and it's basically about one of the team members or family members that basically ends up going rogue, and that family member is Dominic Toretto. So as you know, Dominic Toretto is not just going to go rogue because his family is everything. So there's basically a higher villain in place that is basically pulling him by the strings and he can't do anything. Now the next thing I'm going to say, which is quite obvious, but if you're a fan of the Fast and Furious series, then you'll enjoy this movie. You'll have a great time. But I have to say, that also means 5, 6, and 7. If you're not into those ones and you're more into, you know, the regular street racing ones that were a bit more realistic, then yeah, you'll hate this film because you'll end up just going scientific on it and you'll just pick this movie apart until there's nothing left. Now, I went into this movie expecting a ridiculous, over-the-top, cheesy action film. And I got that. Now, the one thing that really stood out for me in this film was The Rock and Jason Statham working together. I have to say, I'm glad Dwayne Johnson was more of a focus in this one rather than in the 7th one, where he was just in hospital for most of the movie and then he just strolls on out later on with a minigun. Now, as you can see from the trailer, The Rock ends up in prison. And what do you know? Jason Statham's character is in the exact same prison. So after that whole prison fight escape scene, which was actually a pretty cool scene, not as, you know, good as Daredevil Season 2 with the Punisher, but still pretty good. After that whole sequence, they find out that they actually have to work together. Now, as you know from the previous film, Jason Statham was actually the bad guy. So in return, the dialogue between Jason Statham and The Rock was just perfect. Now, you might be asking yourself, how could you end up liking Jason Statham's character after all the bad stuff he did in the previous film? Well, there's kind of like this part of the movie that really sells it. If you've seen the movie, it's, you know, the plane scene, which was actually really funny as well. And talking about the humor in this film, I think this is the funniest one out of all the Fast and Furious movies. Like, just the dialogue between The Rock and Jason Statham was perfect, let alone the other characters. And also just laughing at how ridiculous some of the action sequences are. Yeah, I could see that. Okay, so I think I've mentioned basically everything I wanted in a non-spoilers review. So yeah, I'll just wrap it up. So this movie is definitely a watch if you're a fan of the Fast and Furious movies, or if you're a person that just wants to check out a cheesy, over-the-top action film. So overall, I'm going to give this movie a 7 out of 10. And I'd also say this movie is worthy. Piece of licorice. Look at that, all that licorice. Look at it. Oh. So I would say it is definitely worth seeing in cinemas if you're not going to go scientific about it. If you're going to go scientific about it, probably not. Okay, so I think that's enough about the non-spoiler review. Let's talk about some spoilers. Sound the alarm! The rest of this video contains spoilers, so I would advise watching this part of the video if you haven't seen the movie. Unless you don't mind spoilers, in that case, go right ahead. Can't say I didn't warn you. Now I'm just going to start with the thing that really surprised me, and that was the character Elena dying. To be honest, I was expecting Dominic Toretto to talk the villain out of it, and, you know, it would just all work out. You know, they'd do some stupid miraculous escape. That did not happen. She actually got killed. And I think everyone in the cinema was shocked by that fact. And I thought that was really effective. It was really sad as well. But man, that completely surprised me. Though I have to say I'm glad that Dominic Toretto didn't end up killing... what the hell is his name? Dominic Toretto didn't kill Deckard off. Because if they did, I feel like I wouldn't have enjoyed this movie as much. The sigh of relief I had when I saw him fly on the plane and rescue the kid, because I think that's the next time you see him again and he's with his brother. Because if he was dead from that thing when Vin Diesel shot him, I was just going to be like, nope. Okay, so I think that's it, what I want to talk about in the spoilers. There wasn't really too much I wanted to really mention. It was only just a couple things, especially the thing right at the beginning mentioning how that scene really surprised me. I wasn't really expecting this movie to surprise me like that, and it did. So, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll catch you folks in the next one.